How do you feel that your perception has shifted or changed among the Arab or Arab American community since then? Because we will regularly have people that say, like, well, obviously it's not the direction we wanted to go, and he was not Arab American, but I've noticed that there's been a shift socially in like how you're perceived looking back, because people know it wasn't your call to do that gimmick. It was WWE's call.
I think there's been a shift. I think that initially when the character came out, I think Middle Eastern people in this country felt like they had a representative. And then when the character became more controversial and really the irony of me speaking about, not getting a fair chance and then not fighting fair, it started to become more of a caricature, and really isolated the character. And I think it really alienated the character from Middle Eastern fans in this country, because now I'm not just representing them, I'm representing them in a very negative way. And I think that a shift, I think that people 20 years later recognize that I was a 23, 24-year-old kid. I think people have more sympathy for the fact that you're not going to turn an opportunity like that down in a position that I was in or anybody was in. And I also think they recognize the character remains within its time. I mean, that character would never exist outside of 2004, 2005. And again, if the London bombing didn't happen, we wouldn't have made it much further, because the nature of the character was insensitive to begin with. I think my perspective has changed because during the time, I didn't understand the levity of I didn't understand how serious that character was being taken. I mean, I was 24, 25. Sean's like 12, he was like maybe 19 or 20. We're kind of living this gimmick, and we're kind of living our dream, traveling, doing all these shows. We know we're getting heat. We know that, there's people upset. But it wasn't until much later that I realized how insensitive that character was. And like I was saying earlier, how that character was being pushed to depict Muslim Americans and Middle Eastern Americans, and the things that character was doing was not representative of them, and it wasn't helping, it was hurting. And that's what I disagreed with the character, the direction we were going in. And that's when I became vocal about it. Granted, again, I take responsibility for the fact that I played the character. I was doing those things. I'm holding myself accountable, but I wasn't writing the script. I might be saying the words and I might be generating those words, but I definitely wasn't the one who was creating those storylines and coming up with the ideas that we had come up with. So I'm glad that people recognize that I am not a person trying to deceive and bring down, Middle Eastern Americans. I'm glad they recognize it was a character, and I hope they appreciate that I played that character well for what it needed to be at the time. And then I hope they really appreciate that character's gone and it will never come back.